Kenny Deery joins us from Galway Chamber, and he's been out and about and talking to people indeed since Friday evening last when the Taoiseach made the announcement, and he joins me on the line. Kenny, good morning to you.
Good morning, Keith. How are you?
It's been a busy weekend by all accounts.
It certainly has, and I think I look at this from my old banking days. Many businesses that the bank accounts were looking bleak or coming under pressure will have got a good injection and a good boost as a result of this weekend. I was out myself all over the weekend, and I think once people absorbed the initial shock of the immediacy of what they needed to prepare for Friday through to Saturday in terms of staffing up, stocking up, etc., and getting their businesses kind of reoriented back to, if you look at a pub or a hotel, bar stools out, that type of stuff. There was just a general sense of joy, I think, among business owners, but also among patrons, and the atmosphere was phenomenal around town Saturday night, and again yesterday evening I was out in Salt Hill, and some of the businesses there all fairly full, if not full, and I think just a much needed boost. And I think, Keith, the important thing is with this, hopefully a bit of sustained activity over the next few weeks, people coming out, having the confidence to come back out, albeit reopened, still staff in businesses are wearing their masks. Hunters, when they're moving around, are wearing their masks. You know, there's still, obviously COVID is still out there, and we have to take cognizance of that. And I think many businesses are doing their best to make sure that they're still adhering to the procedures, but just having increased capacity.
And somebody who was out at the weekend said it was so strange to walk into an establishment and stand at the bar and not be asked, have you made a reservation? And how many is it for? And can I see your COVID cert? And then they were a little bit disconcerted about wearing of the mask then, because they felt that the mask should be on all the time. But they said, it was they that said it now, not me, but it was like they felt as if they were out without, they felt as if they went out without putting on an underpants, not having the mask on them. They just felt totally out of kilter not having it.
Correct. We've become conditioned to wearing it, and also when you go out the door now, you have the keys, you have the phone, potentially your wallet or your bag, but also the mask was hand in glove with you. And I think, listen, the guidance is that we continue to bring the mask with us. You wear it when you're moving around. You are right in walking into one premises on Saturday. I wasn't sure what to do. Could I walk in and proceed through the building, or did I still need to be meted and greeted by an individual? And I think we'll all overcome those wobbles and that initial nervousness. And if it's a case that we do something wrong, the staff will of course guide us. But I think the most important thing, as I said, there were good numbers out. But for people who are still wary, please just do have the confidence. Pick maybe a quieter evening first. We always talk on this programme about access for all and people of varying levels of capabilities and abilities. I think we just need to give people the confidence to bit by bit start returning to, I know that notion of returning to normality, but getting to enjoy our city again and getting to enjoy socialising and spending and engaging around our city and indeed the county. And the businesses need it and will welcome it. So I think overall, listen, it's been a welcome boost, Keith.
It has been. Now the next step then is to get the tourists back in again and to get people,
right,
into the hotels, even though the home trade was extremely good for the last 2 years, and God bless everyone involved in it. But now to get people back in again, to get the heavy spenders back in again, the heavy hitters.
Correct, and I think there's some optimism there, Keith, because if we talk, and we've engaged obviously with Joe in Ireland West and Mary and the team in Shannon, if we look at Ireland West, their flights are back to the same level of numbers of flights than at pre-COVID level, which is great, and it's a huge achievement for them. The load capacity on some of those flights is still not what we'd like it to be, but that will get there. And I know certainly if we're looking at Shannon, the optimism that we have here, Keith, aside from their ordinary flight schedule to Europe and indeed the UK, the US flights are coming back in. So we have both Aer Lingus and United returning with services at the end of March and beginning of April. Now, one of the challenges that we have with those, particularly in the United one, is they're trialling it to see what capacity and what sort of bookings we get. And I think any of us who are looking at going to the States, please look at supporting the route that we have from the west of Ireland and connect through either Boston or Newark with the services we have from Shannon for your onward journey. Because one of the important pieces is United are testing the market, but obviously if that route doesn't perform at the level that it could, they'll redirect that plane somewhere else. So the responsibility for those of us in business and indeed users in the west of Ireland is where we can at all. Let's look at Shannon, let's look at Ireland West and make sure we sustain and support our local airports. I think the other big piece as well, just while I'm on flow, with many of the businesses, as I say, last weekend was good from a cash flow point of view. We're delighted with the super bank holiday weekend around St. Paddy's. And obviously we have Easter and May bank holiday coming in quick succession. So I know many businesses, and indeed ourselves, are engaging with the local authority and through the chamber committees, are building campaigns around attracting people to the West and supporting Galway and presenting it in its best. But I think for many of the businesses, there's a tricky time coming now, because those that have been relying on the EWSS supports, they are tapering off. So come April, that will be gone. Some still won't be back to the full level of turnover. So I think it's really important that business owners engage with their accountants, keep an eye on what their revenue warehousing bills are at, because this is going to be the precarious time now once supports are withdrawn, particularly once they're not back to full turnover. So I think it's a cautious time, and people just need to make sure that they are managing their cash flow. And if you're not using the revenue warehousing, maybe you need to use it for a couple of months until such time as you get back to normal stability. So I think that's really important as well.
All right. Well, I mean, let's go back to that United Airlines. And I mean, they're testing the market here. And I remember a couple of years ago meeting the United guys in Chicago. And they are very, very good business people, I have to say. They've a number of vice presidents that we met there. And effectively, the Shannon Chicago flight, they ceased that because it was going into the winter season and all that. But that plane was put on from Chicago to Hawaii. And that same route is still being done, because they're getting the load factors going from Chicago to Hawaii.
Correct.
So it's all about load factors. So I think what you're saying is very good. From there, Kenny Deery, Chief Executive, Galway Chamber, thank you so much for joining us today on the programme.